Welcome to The Source, where we combine the headlines with in-depth conversations with the newsmakers themselves. I'm Pinky Webb. Today on the program, Coast Guard ships of the Philippines and China exchanged radio challenges during the latest resupply mission to Ayungin Shoal, both asserting sovereignty in the area. The Foreign Affairs Department insists activities of the Philippines in Ayungin Shoal do not need approval from any country. And more lawmakers propose the building of permanent structures as China continues dangerous actions in the West Philippine Sea. Armed Forces spokesperson Colonel Medel Aguilar and National Security Council Assistant Director General Jonathan Malaya joins us in the program. Philippine officials are pushing back against China's claim a special arrangement was made with Beijing that allowed Manila to push through with its latest resupply mission to the BRP Sierra Madre. The Foreign Affairs Department stresses activities of the Philippines in Ayungin Shoal do not need approval from any other country. While Manila was able to successfully conduct the mission, Philippine vessels still experienced dangerous maneuvers from Beijing's side. The two nations also engaged in radio challenges with both asserting sovereignty in the area. Let's go straight to the source of the story. First off, we have Armed Forces spokesperson Medel Aguilar. Colonel, good to see you. Welcome to the source, sir.
Good morning, Ms. Pinky, and good morning also to all our viewers.
Let's start with the kind of challenges the Philippine troops had to endure or go through during this rotational and resupply mission to Ayungin Shoal last Tuesday, sir.
Yes, we understand that when we entered service, there will be a lot of challenges and sacrifices that we have to face, considering the nature of our job. But since it is our constitutional mandate to protect the integrity, the territory of our country, it is a task, a mission that we have to perform. So to those tasks and mission, we are prepared.
So let's talk about what happened last Tuesday, Colonel. How many Chinese Coast Guard ships were there and Chinese militia?
There were a lot of vessels. I think that what was reported initially to us is that there were 4, but we are still 4 Coast Guard vessels and a number of maritime militia vessels. But we still have to wait for the official report coming from the Western Command to come up with a official figure as to the number of vessels, China vessels that were involved in the blocking operation.
But so far, Colonel, what we know is 4 Coast Guard ships and a number of militia vessels, but pending verification.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
We want to be exact and to be accurate in our reporting to the public.
Now, could you help us through this, the video that we were showing a while ago? Because it was already said, Commodore J. Tariela was saying that, fine, it was a successful operation, well and good, but it was not a walk in the park, ika nga, sabi niya. Tell us more about, from what you know about this dangerous maneuvers. Yung una po, ilang beses ho ba ito nangyari during this last rotational and resupply mission?
As far as the Coast Guard vessel of China is concerned, I think it was Commodore J. Tariela who can actually explain what happened.
Okay.
But before reaching that stage, actually the supply vessels were being shadowed already by a naval vessel of the People's Liberation Army, and twice they crossed the path of Unaisa May 2, meaning they passed through in between the 2 supply boats and from a distance of 600 and then 800 yards. So those were the actions that were reported to us at before they reached the Sabina Shore.
I see. Okay. You had made mention yesterday, I think it was during a press conference, that they were less aggressive. The Chinese Coast Guard was less aggressive. I also recall prior to this resupply mission that you said you told them to behave. Were they behaved, and how were they less aggressive, sir?
Ma'am, yes, I think they are also listening, and they are careful in their action. And from the experience in the past, or just recent past, after the August 5 incident, they learned a lesson. I think the behavior did change a bit, but they need to understand more what is UNCLOS, what is international law. Because if they know what the provisions of this international law, then probably, even at the tactical level, this would guide them how to think and how to act in certain situations.
But it has not.
I think they are not aware of what is provided by the UNCLOS when it comes to the law of the sea.
Do you think they're not aware, sir, or they refuse to recognize it?
I just would like them to give them the benefit of doubt that they do not do it, so that their actions are not guided by the international law.
Colonel, there was a part that I saw also during this resupply mission that I know that this time water cannons weren't used. But I saw a video that they used the water cannon, but only at sea. What were they trying to tell us? What were they trying to imply with such an action?
I don't want to speak for China, but the way I look at it, it could be one that they are just testing the equipment, whether it's still functioning or not. Number two,
Are you serious,
probably
sir?
they want to show to us that they still have this capability. So in a way, to threaten us, but of course it did not work.
All right. So there could be two issues. You were saying a while ago, pasensya na ho kayo, checking if it's working, hindi ho ba? And then siguro to, as you mentioned, tell us that it is working.
Yes, we have this capability, and we can use it against you.
Yeah.
But of course, it did not work.
As we did
Otherwise, they will
last
be
August
again
5.
condemned by the whole by the international community for misusing a water cannon.
Yeah.
It's not meant to harass anybody. It should be for saving lives.
So while they tested it, let's put it that way, no? It was directed towards sea. So in a way, yung sinabi niyo pong behave, you saw that this time around, nagbehave po sila.
I said the behavior changed a bit, but again, there's a big room for improvement that they still have to explore. And yes, they should know more about
All right.
more about the United Nations Convention on the Laws of the Sea, because they are signatory to it.
Colonel, let's talk about...
And I am referring to, of course, the China Coast Guard.
Yes, sir. Let's talk about really what happens now during these resupply missions. So you have the Chinese Coast Guard, you have the Chinese militia, ano po. On our side, you have the two Coast Guard ships, hindi ho ba? And then we have two chartered ships para po magdala ng supply doon po sa BRP Sierra Madre. But there are also Navy vessels on standby, hindi ho ba?
Yes, ma'am. There were two Navy vessels standby located 10 to 12 nautical miles from Ayungin Shoal.
That's not far, sir. Malapit-lapit din
Yes,
po
that's
yun,
not far.
And was this
Yes.
done in the past?
Yes, ma'am. They were also there closely watching what's happening.
I see. So even in the past, sir, there are always more or less, would you say, two Navy boats? Philippine Navy boats,
Yes,
sir?
because the rotation and reprovisioning mission is a naval operation.
Right.
And it is therefore important that they are there to provide immediate assistance when needed. Now, it is just that our Navy are prudent and responsible enough not to jump into the fray immediately because we don't know what will happen. We don't want to escalate the situation.
So more or less, we have the Coast Guard there. At least the last mission, sir, there were 2 Coast Guard ships, there were the chartered vessels, and then there were 2 Navy ships. And then basically you're saying that the Navy
Yes,
ships
ma'am.
really are there. The Navy obviously is there, sir, kasi kaya meron din tayong rotational, hindi ho ba? Pinapalitan po yung
Yes,
ating mga
ma'am.
tropa doon sa BRP Sierra Madre every so often. Kaya yun po, obviously, is part of the Navy, Marines.
Yes, ma'am. That is part of our operations.
All right. Ito na lang po. Colonel, sabi po kasi sabi po ng China or ni Ambassador Wang Zhilian, this was successful on humanitarian grounds because there was or is supposedly, allegedly, umano, a special arrangement. Have you heard of this in the past, sir?
First, I've never heard about a special arrangement, not even a special treatment. And I would just like to re-echo what is the statement of our Department of Foreign Affairs, that whatever we do in our commissioned vessel, whatever we do in our exclusive economic zone is none of their business. Making BRP Sierra Madre livable does not involve militarization that will threaten other countries' security. Repairing its facility does not involve reclamation that destroys our environment. So, where is the moral ascendancy to tell us what to do?
Very quickly, sir, I still have Yusek Malaya. No? I also wanted to bring this in. Yung pong sinasabi nilang structure, Senator Cheese first brought that up during my interview with him. Ano po? Sabi niya po, he can allocate or will look for about 100 million. I'm sure that's the initial fund. Is building a structure in Ayungin Shoal a good move, Colonel? And if so, how soon should this be done? Or at least try to have it done?
Ma'am, I think that decision has to be carefully, that option has to be carefully studied. And it is beyond my competency to talk about it. But let us also consider other factors that are involved on matters of constructing a facility in a low tide elevation where these constructions may not be allowed by international law. So I think I'm not an expert on it, but we cannot do what others are doing, even if they are doing it already, when it is not acceptable under international law. So my point is, we are actually, in everything that we do, we are always guided by what is expected of us by the community of nations and what is provided by the international law.
All right. That needs to be studied further. Ano po? In other words, it isn't just easy. It could look good in paper. It could look good on paper. Magpagawa tayo ng struktura doon. But number one, as you mentioned, something that needs to be pondered on and researched. Can we actually build a structure in a low tide elevation, ho ang tawag ata doon? And what could be the possible implications of that? Armed Forces spokesperson, Colonel Medel Aguilar. Sir, pleasure to have you. Maraming salamat po sa inyong oras.
Maraming salamat din po, Ms. Pinky, at kami po ay masaya sa suporta na binibigay niyo sa amin. I hope that the next time that you will interview me, I will be there already in person.
Opo. At sana, I hope that happens soon, sir. Maraming salamat po sa inyong oras. Take care. We'll be taking a very short break. This is The Source on CNN Philippines. Please stay tuned. You're watching The Source on CNN Philippines. I'm Pinky Webb. Our source today, National Security Council Assistant Director General Jonathan Malaya, ADG Malaya. Welcome to The Source, sir. Also, very good to see you.
Very good to see you, Pinky. Nice to be in your show again.
So, Malaya ho tayong nakapaglayag noong Martes sa Ayungin Shoal. But, it wasn't a walk in the park, sabi po ni Commodore J. Tariela.
Yes, tama po yan. Malaya tayo nakapaglayag, but the claims of the Chinese embassy that parang may express lane daw di umano, no, is far from the truth. Kasi Pinky, no, there are parang three versions of what happened there based on the Chinese side, no. There's the Chinese embassy version, there's the Chinese Coast Guard version through the spokesperson, and then there's the actual incident on the ground, which we saw using the video footages that came out. So there are three versions really when you look at it, when you talk to the Chinese.
Right. So let's talk about one version, sir, first. Na number one, yung sinasabing pinayagan, parang ganun po pinayagan dahil nga for humanitarian reasons because there is a special arrangement. Sir, to me, when I heard this, quite frankly, this is new. Because I think the last time we talked was that I was asking you, meron ho ba talagang commitment na ito away si BRP Sierra Madre? To which you said, none that you know of. And then now, bago ho ba ito sa inyo na may special arrangement daw tayo with China to bring humanitarian supplies?
Yes, nag-iiba-iba yung version nila eh. Nung una may promise, now naman may quote-unquote a special arrangement. So, ang tanong namin is, arrangements with whom? Because there are no such arrangements that were made with us, no? And even their claim that parang express lane, di ba? Kasi according to the Chinese ambassador, there was an express lane given to us, no? But the reality on the ground is, there was the flexing of the water cannon, which is meant met as a threat or intimidation to our troops na umayos kayo, pwede namin kayo i-water cannon, no? And then there was the blockade, there was the corralling, there was the intimidation and harassment. Now, pag pumunta ka naman dun sa Chinese Coast Guard spokesperson, ang sasabihin naman nila there was a stern warning, no? And the Chinese Coast Guard effectively regulated our ships. So ano ba talaga? Pinadaan ba talaga tayo for humanitarian considerations, or we were effectively regulated, as mentioned by the Chinese Coast Guard spokesperson? And then, when you listen to the radio challenges coming from China, Coast Guard, last Tuesday, meron pang mga leave and keep calm, no? Otherwise, you'll take full responsibility for the consequences, and because of provocations, we will take countermeasures. So, hindi congruent yung sinagsasabi ng Chinese embassy, the Chinese Coast Guard spokesperson, and the radio challenges.
Well, I'm also confused, sir, because when quite frankly, when I heard about the Chinese ambassador saying there was passage because it was for humanitarian considerations, yet when you saw the video and then the statement of the National Task Force on the West Philippine Sea, it said that there was dangerous maneuvers, we were harassed, we were blocked, and then up after that was this video of, as you mentioned, the Chinese Coast Guard firing their water cannons, pero at sea, hindi naman po sa mga vessels ng Philippines. So my question was, if there is such an arrangement, which you say there's none, let's just say for the sake of argument, na may special arrangement for humanitarian considerations, why were we blocked? Why were we harassed? And why was there a use of water cannon at sea?
That's a very good question, Pinky, no? Again, they're caught within this narrative that they can't seem to get their hands on. No, kasi and I've mentioned this last week. What China is doing here in the Philippines is trying to utilize cognitive warfare to undermine our position. And cognitive warfare is when you use the human mind as the battlefield. No? They use information operations, psychological operations, cyber operations using social media. to sow doubt, introduce conflicting narratives, polarize opinion, and radicalize groups. And what is the purpose of this is to sow chaos, no, and fragment and disrupt the Philippine position. And they're doing this using their proxies and operators.
ADG,
So,
tagalugin po natin yon para maintindihan natin. Basically, ang sinasabi nyo, gumagamit ho ba sila ng, ano ho ba ito sa Tagalog, itong cognitive warfare?
yeah, gumagamit po sila ng mga ano ba tawag nun, mga alipores or what we call as operators or proxies,
Opo.
no? Which na
Na
ginagamit
iba-iba.
nila as force multipliers
Na iba-iba ang sinasabi. Tama ho ba?
na iba-iba sinasabi but using a certain script, no, coming from them para pagsabungin tayo. Okay? For example, itong promise na ito, itong special arrangement na ito, tayo ngayon ang nagtuturuan, no? Parang
Sino nag-utos nito? Sinong pumayag dito sa special arrangement? Parang ganun po no?
Yes, ganun na nangyayari. So, yung 'di ba, yung concept ng pinagsasabong ano 'yan part of the media parlance na pagsabungin natin para hindi na nakatutok yung atensyon ng tao dun sa pinaka-issue.
Apo.
So, I've said this in the past, this is a Chinese trap that we need to get out of. No?
Opo.
And this is one time that we have to come together as a nation. Kaya kami po sa National Task Force West Philippine Sea, under the chairmanship of General Eduardo Año, we're very transparent and open about what's happening. So the people can, make up their minds about this.
Yeah.
We are showing videos, we are showing footages to prove that the Chinese narrative is only meant to disrupt us and cause fractures in our position as a nation.
So parang ginugulo-gulo tayo. Actually, ilang beses ko na po itong tinanong ADG. Bakit ho parang tayo yung nagiging defensive? Pagkatapos po nung insidente sa Ayungin Shoal last August 5, when they used water cannons, and then there was that, because there's supposed to be this commitment from the Philippines to tow away the BRP Sierra Madre in Ayungin Shoal. All of a sudden, nagkakaroon na po ng, sino ba yung mga past president na posibleng nag-utos nito? I feel that somehow, we've been on the defensive side instead of sticking to what actually happened last August 5 in Ayungin Shoal.
Yes, and that's why I raised that alarm. And when people realized that we were falling into the Chinese trap, nag-subside naman yung issue yon in a way. No?
Okay.
Until binuhay na naman ulit through this special arrangement. Kasi the first thing that we can do to counter cognitive warfare is to understand that it's happening. There has to be an awareness on the part of the Filipino public that there are operators at play to change the narrative. Now that we have shown evidences and videos of what really happened in Ayungin Shoal during the past two resupply missions, people already know the truth.
Okay.
So kahit ano pang gawin nilang pagbabali, maliwanag na maliwanag. Itong pinapakita nyo sa harapan natin ngayon, that's a drone shot taken by the Coast Guard to show na hinaharang talaga yung ating mga kababayan, mga Coast Guard vessels, precisely, and it's not true that they were allowed to come in for humanitarian considerations.
And then yung nakita po natin na parang wooden boats, sir, yun yung chartered, yun yung ginagamit talaga diretso to BRP Sierra Madre.
Yes,
Okay.
Those are our supply boats.
Yes.
And supposedly, Pinky, those supply boats are carrying large-scale construction materials. Sa tingin mo ba, Pinky, yung maliit na yan can bring large-scale construction materials? Ano? Anong klaseng large-scale ang ibig nilang sabihin?
Alright.
And even if assuming that supply boat can bring large-scale construction materials, why are we supposed to ask permission from them?
There you go.
The Ayungin Shoal is within the 200 exclusive economic zone nautical miles of the Philippines, and we exercise sovereign rights over that shoal.
We need to take a short break. We'll be right back. You're watching The Source on CNN Philippines. I'm Pinky Webb. Our source today, National Security Council Assistant General Director General Jonathan Malaya. Sir, quickly, yung pong BRP Sierra Madre, I've always been interested to find out, kamusta ho ang kanyang state? Can it still withstand the test of time, mga siguro mga problema sa storms, etc.? And do you support a structure in Ayungin Shoal?
Well, there's this proposal. There's this proposal from Senator Escudero to provide funding in the General Appropriations Act for the building of a permanent structure in Ayungin Shoal, and I think that's a proposal that merits serious consideration from Congress.
Okay.
No, kasi nga as we can see, the BRP Sierra Madre is not in a good state. No? It's rusting and it's dilapidated, and it really needs improvement.
All right. National Security Council Assistant Director General Jonathan Malaya. Sir, maraming salamat po sa inyong oras.
Thank you, Pinky. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining us here on The Source. I'm Pinky Webb. You're watching CNN Philippines.